evening. In Parashat Kedoshim, Sefer Vayikra, the Torah commands us not to destroy the peyot of the head. Peyot means the corners of the head. It means the sideburns. The person has to have sideburns and cannot get rid of them. The Rambam writes in the 12th chapter, in Chod Avodah Zarah, he says that the reason why we cannot shave our sideburns is because that is the way of the priests of the Goyim. The way the priests of the Goyim used to shave the sides of their heads in order to serve their God. So therefore it's following the ways of the Goyim to shave off the sideburns. The Rabbi Tomer writes that the reason why we cannot shave off our sideburns, he says, is because Hashem made it that men grow more hair on the face and on the side of the head than women. And the point is that men should look different than women. And if a person would shave his beard very, very clean, and he would shave his sideburns very, very clean, God forbid, it could be that he could go look like a woman, God forbid, or the woman could look like a man. So therefore, in order not to ever mix it up, Hashem made it that a man grows hair in certain places differently than a woman. Therefore, that's why a person cannot destroy his sideburns. The Mishnah in the 3rd chapter of Masechet Makot tells us that a person gets a sin for shaving off each sideburn, so one for each side. And the Gemara says also that a person has 5 corners on the beard, and he cannot shave with a razor on the beard as well. So therefore, the last line of the Mishnah says you're only liable if you use a razor. There's a little bit of a debate. What is a sur to shave off the sideburns with? Is it only a razor, or is it even with a barber machine? A barber machine, what is it? It's essentially a scissors. You have the machine has one blade here, and you have another blade in the machine going back and forth, and the hairs go through both of them, and the 2 blades hit each other, and they cut like a scissors. The Rambam writes, Lalacha, that shaving off the peyot is only a sur with a razor. If a person uses scissors to cut so short his peyot to the point where there's almost no hair left, it's mutar. Why? Because he did not use a razor. In the Torah, it's only a sur to use a razor. However, the Rosh argues. The Rosh and a few other Rishonim argue, and they say no. When you say in the Mishnah you cannot use a razor, it's only going on the beard. But a peyot, you can even transgress without a razor. You don't need a razor to transgress. If you use the scissors, misparayim kentar, if you use the scissors to cut so short like a razor does, today we have nice, very fancy scissors machines that can cut very short, almost like a zero. You can get almost like a razor. He says the Rosh, this also be a sur. This would be considered shaving off a peyot, isur deoraita, same thing as eating chochke. So therefore what? So therefore, a person has to make sure what? Shulchan Aruch writes in Siman Kuf Pei Aleph. Siman Kuf Pei Aleph Shulchan Aruch writes, he says, the person who shaves off his peyot with scissors is mutar. With a razor is not allowed, like the opinion of the Rambam. But then he says, V'yesh omri, and some say, you get a sin even if you shave it off with scissors. He says, V'yesh tachush, you should be worried for their opinion. Shulchan Aruch writes, Siman Kuf Pei Aleph Siv Gimel, a person should be concerned for the opinion of the Rosh, and should not use a barber machine, and should not use scissors to cut his peyot very short. Today, L'tzarenu Rabim, we see many, many young kids, they have this trend of shaving on the sides very short, and leaving on the top very long. And on the sides, how short do they shave? They shave very short. With a barber machine, they don't use razor, but even with a barber machine, according to the Rosh, it's considered shaving off your peyot. How short is too short? There's a debate amongst the Achronim, but the consensus opinion is that you shouldn't do less than a 2. Less than a 2 on a barber machine, according to some opinions already, is considered shaving off your peyot min Torah. So you're doing a transgression from the Torah when you shave your head less than a 2. A person could say, well, we have Rambam. Rambam is good enough to rely on. Rambam says as long as you don't use a razor, so it's good. Person has to know, do you keep the Rambam, everything the Rambam says? You know, Rambam says most sickness comes because the person overeats. All sickness comes because you overeat. So therefore he says when you eat, you should stop a little bit early before you're full and wait, because you're going to be full automatically. If you eat till you're full, you're going to overeat and you're going to get sick, God forbid. You follow the Rambam, what he says over there? No. Do we follow the Rambam in Pesach? He says you're not allowed to have grape juice, you have to have wine. He says the Rambam in the laws of working. He says how much is a person supposed to work and how much is supposed to learn? He's supposed to work 3 hours a day. He's supposed to learn 9 hours a day. Do we follow this Rambam? So therefore there's a lot of Rambams that we have to be worried about, and therefore you cannot just claim oh, I have Rambam to rely on. So therefore, Shulchan Aruch says we should be concerned for the opinion of the Rosh. Therefore, a person should teach himself, teach his family members, teach his friends. You should not shave your peyot shorter than a 2 with the barber machine. According to one of the Rishonim, some of the Rishonim, you're transgressing Isur Torah.